Greetings, I'm Dr. Al Freeman, Education Executive for the South Wisconsin District. Welcome to How To National Lutheran School Accreditation, Episode 3, discussing Standard 2 relationships. I'm joined by Rob Lunak.
I work here for the district on innovation and improvement. My longer title is in episode 1 and 2. You can go find it there.
Oh, you don't want to continue the
No, probably
great.
not.
And Dennis Gerke.
Presently serving as the interim assistant director of accreditation for Lutheran Church Missouri Synod.
And Standard 2 is all about relationships. A strength of our Lutheran schools, I would say. I hear about all the time when I'm on accreditation visits. The school has strong relationships with parents and students. It's a family atmosphere and so on. So, Standard 2, why it matters? Well, we should have healthy Christ-centered relationships at our Lutheran schools, healthy relationships that strengthen ministry effectiveness and student outcomes that you see there in bullet one. It should be visible, should be throughout, should drive our culture, and it should all come from the mission of the school for effective ministry. There's some things here in Standard 2 that are must-haves as you go throughout the process. You'll see down below there, bullet second to the last, a non-discrimination statement must be present in all school-related printed materials. Students must be admitted without regard to race, color, or national origin. Those are in Standard 2, and again, must be present. What does that mean in all school printed materials? How do we do the non-discrimination?
Well, go ahead.
In addition to printed materials, also on websites for the school.
Yeah, it should be out there so that it's visible to everyone.
Yeah. So this would be things like your handbook. If you have sometimes this is common in like a food service handbook as well. USDA requires something similar for a lot of our schools. So you don't want this on a piece of paper that you have in the principal's office that no one else sees. All basically means like it does everyone know it's there.
Should be easily found.
Yeah.
This section 2 relationships at one time in the accreditation process was 3 different sections: school and community, school and congregation, and school climate. And that they all are part of relationships, and the surveys really help to reinforce the evidences for those relationships. I used to frequently say that I cannot define school climate, but I can feel school climate within 10 minutes in a building. And so it might be hard to write up, but the validation team feels it very quickly in a school.
And they should. And here you see, I always like this last line, Lutheran school community is the body of Christ in action. And as Dennis said, congregation, school, families, community, working together for the sake of children and the gospel. I think that does a great job of really summarizing the expectation of Standard 2. Standard 2, like all standards, you have required responses. Here you see the key questions for the required responses and what the expectations are. The tip at the end, use specific observable examples. Do not utilize vague statements like we value relationships. Do not satisfy the narrative requirement. Again, the narrative requirement, I always like to say, long enough to cover the topic, short enough to keep it interesting. Any other thoughts here on the required responses for Standard 2?
School is really a team sport. And so those evidences, the things you're going to put into these key questions and required responses, they should show how you are a team and how you work together. And so these could be things like teachers have planning time that they work together, or there's cross-curricular things going on, or maybe the pastor and the principal meet once a week to go over things. There's lots of ways you can show this. And it's really important that you think through it of the lens of we are a stronger ministry when we work together. So how do we show all the times we continue to work together for our purpose?
One part of evaluating the relationships is the parent focus group. And I've found over the years, it's really important to have a box of Kleenexes there because inevitably tears will come to their eyes in appreciation for how their children and how their families have been blessed by the ministry of that church and school.
I always like to point out too, know your constituent groups, your stakeholders. Here you see congregation, parent, community, students, your faculty as well. These are your constituent groups. You should know them well, and you should know your interactions with them and what's going positively and maybe areas of improvement that are needed as well. Required evidence checklist. We have two things here in Standard 2, written non-discrimination statement. And again, we talked about that a little bit. And then school discipline code, written, current, and consistently applied. So that must be there. You upload those documents so the validation team can see those. And again, the validation team will ask or should ask, how is your school discipline consistently applied? Probably a question that comes up in the student focus group as well from the validation team.
I always like to ask with the student focus group, what happens when Johnny misbehaves? And wait for those answers and see if it is consistent.
Absolutely. And that's, again, the role of the validation team. Required indicators of success, yes or no, has to be answered yes. If it's answered no, you're going to have to generate those in a timely fashion so that you can move forward in the process. Here you see 3 in Standard 2. School is operated by LCMS congregation or congregations or maintains an RSO status. Climate of the school flows from and supports the school's purpose, mission, vision, so on. 203 non-discrimination statement again. Key evidence to collect. We provide you with some items over here, the RSO renewal documentation, all printed materials, websites confirm the non-discrimination, that again, the discipline code is there, and climate evidence from surveys, observations, and those focus groups. So make sure all the evidence is present. If it's a single congregation school, there should be noted that it's single congregation and what that looks like in your setting. Sometimes it's not an RSO, but there's multiple LCMS congregations. So you'd want to list all of the LCMS congregations that are part of supporting your school. General indicators, again, these are the scores, 1 to 4. The benchmarks are all put forth for you to make sure that you meet. So it's a process that's laid out so that you can see if it's should be a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4. Again, you must meet all of the benchmarks in a given column to move forward to the next score. If you don't meet one of the benchmarks in column 3, what's the score, Rob?
2.
Excellent. We didn't even prep that ahead of time.
No?
So, yes. So that's how it works out. Here in the general indicators, we see church and school partnership, broader church engagement, community diversity, active parent groups. I have been asked before about the broader church engagement and what that looks like. And you see here, school seeks opportunity to support district, national church body, district school ministry participation, chapel partnerships. Sometimes if you are a policy-based governance and this is rolled into the church side of things, the school gets a little bit confused. Well, can I claim that as a school item? Absolutely. So think of it overall. Because that shows your engagement in your church-school relationship. So don't discount that and think you have to mark yourself down. Community perception, Christ-centered ethos, student-centered staff, and relational culture. All important items that we see here in Standard 2.
And just remember that your surveys can be important evidences for all of these general indicators that point out strengths of what's happening in your school.
And I think that's important to bring up too. Can I use a piece of evidence more than once?
Yeah, of course you can.
Absolutely.
Now, I wouldn't use one piece of evidence for 8 things and only use that one piece of evidence. I would have other pieces along with that, but
Yes.
one can definitely apply across many indicators and even many standards.
A lot of times you can use, as Dennis brought up, the surveys.
Mhm.
So in the relationship section here, Standard 2, surveys are probably going to pop up quite a bit in terms of evidence, but again, should be supported with something else. But you might see it several times. You might see parent survey, you might see student survey, you might see both of them at one of the one of the scores. So evidence, practices, and interview insights, evidence examples. We have here surveys, handbooks, newsletters, new communication, and so on. Practice examples, family ministry events, chapel participation, which the expectation is the validation team hopefully will be there on one of the days that you have chapel, and they will attend chapel as well to validate what is happening in terms of relationships and mission and so on. And then the interview insights that Dennis brought up as well really helps you as a school, but also the validation team identify how well you are doing in standard 2 relationships. Validation team interview questions. Here's an idea of what the validation team will be asking when they come in. So again, as a school coordinator, it's important to know what they are looking for. This should also help you respond and provide evidence examples for all of these general indicators. Maybe even your narratives where you hit on these as well. And then, the pastor, congregation, parents, students, staff, these are all the constituent groups that the validation team will have a focus group time with and go through how are the relationships developed, how is the culture of the school, and so on.
When I work with focus groups, there are two questions that I ask every group. One is, tell me what is the strength of this school? What does St. John's School do well? And then I follow that up with, what is a preferred future condition you would like for your school? How could the school be made even better? What additions could come in? What things that they have that could be improved, or any area? And I usually say, don't let money be a concern. These suggestions, then many times the validation team will include in their validation team report, which then become part of the school action plan, which become improvement for the school.
It's nice to have the evidence that's there. It's nice to see the scores. I take an awful lot when I have the focus groups of the discussions, because then it becomes, is this reality in practice, and not just saying what you're doing, but it's being lived out. Standard 2 coordinator checklist. Again, items that you should be looking for as a coordinator. Review all school publications, your handbooks, your website. Hopefully these are things that you're doing all the time anyway, not just for accreditation. Ask, when did the pastor last visit classrooms? Is there a joint church school event calendar? How do we show that relationship, that connection between congregation, school, congregations, and school if there's multiple? Sometimes that gets more difficult to coordinate, but you should be able to show that. Document that there are parent group meetings. There might be an active parent support group of some type. You can call it different things. Different schools might have a PTO or PTL, or they might just have a parent organization, or some other name that fits your school need. But do demonstrate that it's happening, that there's communication going on there. Christ-centered ethos. It's nice to collect photos. I always tell schools, as you go throughout the school year, snap a picture here or there, give video evidence, a 5-second video or 20-second video of something's going on, or you see something positive that's happening, you think, oh, this would be great to demonstrate for standard 2 to show the team that it is being lived out here in terms of relationships. Surveys are significant here. And again, the reminder, any indicator, general indicator rated a 1 or a 2 must appear in the school action plan. It doesn't preclude 3s and 4s, and you can still do that. Action plan tip for 206. If diversity is low relative to the community, document outreach strategies, community engagement plans. If you have a homogenous community, well, you don't really have diversity. So it is fitting your community. So make note of that too. This is where you should be working with LCF as well to do a demographic study, so it can really provide that as evidence as well. Here's the evidence that we're meeting the community. Thoughts on standard 2? No thoughts on standard 2. Standard 2 really is, For me, standard 2 is living out standard 1. You have your mission, and if your mission is really driving your school, standard 2 and relationships become very clear. If I see struggles in standard 2, I normally think there's a struggle in standard 1 of really knowing your mission, vision, and purpose.
Standard 2, like many others, is an often evolving scenario. One of the areas that I can point out is PTLs or PTAs or PTMs or PTOs, whatever they're called. What's the role of them? And that's changed over the last few years in many schools. Some places they're just financial gaining finances for the school, but what are the roles, and do they even exist in many schools, any kind of parent organizations? So that's just an area to kind of take a look at and realize that that's an evolving situation.
Thank you for joining us for NLSA How To Standard 2.